Good evening, Dota fans, and welcome back to the CSL, our last round of 8 on the road to DreamHack. A big shout out to our sponsors, Twitch, for sponsoring the CSL and featuring our matches weekly. We're proud to be affiliated with the largest gaming stream provider in the world, and Asus Republica Gamers are the presenting sponsor of the CSL this year. Asus makes some of the world's best gaming PCs, laptops, and monitors. Asus is funding this season's travel to DreamHack and our prize pool for the entire year. Be sure to follow their social media at Asus_ROG and thank them for sponsoring the CSL. Reminder, you have until a couple more days to go vote on the Asus giveaway. That is a free gaming laptop and monitors for those who are the most creative about their college Dota videos. And also, if you want to sign up for the Twitch internship, you can do that at cstarleague.com. I'm joined here, as always, by my co-caster, Gorgon the Wonder Cow.
And I'm happy to be here, Toffees.
And you can find him at The Wonder Cow. You can find me at Toffees TV. And Gorgon, it looks like it's going to be a big night. And the reason for that is University of Michigan and UConn are two powerhouses throughout this tournament. Honestly, this could be a finals match that we're just seeing in the round of 8. The winner here, who takes the 2 games, advances to DreamHack Austin. So this is a big move for them. Who's your favorite in this round? What do you think is the key to victory?
You know, I have to say it's U of M because I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, U of M are going to be my favorites here. We can share a flight down to Austin if that, you know, if they win. But like you said, this really, both of these teams have been impressive throughout the entire season. And for one of these teams, it may just be like unlucky seeding that they don't make it to Austin. If things had been shaken up just a little bit, I could certainly have seen both of these teams on the final stage.
Absolutely. So I look forward to seeing what we get out of these guys already into the draft, moving very, very quickly. Not a big surprise. Both of these teams have shown in the past that they know what they want to do from the get-go, and they jump right into it. That said, OD is going to get picked here along with a Lich. On the upside, Faceless Void, who we've been seeing a lot of, I think, from No Diggity in the last week at Dream League, and Zeus for that mid position. What do you think about the Void and where he stands in the meta right now?
I think Void is fine. I don't particularly love him in a lot of cases. The way that he ends up getting built these days as a more auxiliary initiator but doesn't have the damage means that there needs to be a lot of follow-up potential from his team. And it requires a lot more teamwork than a right-click Void of days of old. Now, granted, with the Time Walk rework, he is more survivable in the off lane, which makes him a little bit better in terms of his control, making sure he gets experience, but not necessarily any better in terms of getting last hits or
reserve time.
Okay. I gotcha. OD and Lich, another interesting combo. Zeus has been increasingly popular in the mid lane of late. What do you so Zeus is a little bit different than a lot of the mids that have been popular. OD is a hero that transitions super well, obviously into the late game with a lot of damage output. We seem to see those mids picked up more and more often. Zeus doesn't necessarily fit that standard, does he? He's someone who is incredibly strong in the early to mid game, but does have the potential to fall off once those BKBs and stuff come out. So what do you attribute the popularity of Zeus to? Is it just that mid game control?
He fits into a lot of the molds for team fighting that became popular this patch. He also does very well with control in his lane against level dependent heroes like Invoker. Who obviously was super popular this patch. Not quite as well against an OD because OD does steal intelligence, but in general, Death Prophet as well is a hero that Zeus can harass out of lane. He does a good job against very level dependent opponents in his lane, and that by itself has kind of lifted him up. On top of that, magic damage has kind of fallen out of favor. You can justify having more magic damage in one of your core now because you don't have it on your farming core like you used to about this time last year, and you don't have as much on your supports. A lot of Witch Doctor, Vengeful Spirit coming out, which means there's a lot of physical damage coming out these days, and you want to make up that damage deficit by having a big nuker as one of your cores instead.
Makes sense. Silencer's going to get picked up by Team Husky here. Is that a support silencer, a core silencer? I feel like we don't see core silencer all that often anymore. Do you think that he still does core silencer still have a place in the game?
Yeah, I think so, but Silencer happens to be a hero that I particularly love. I think that Silencer is great. He scales infinitely with kills, right? That by itself makes him a viable core. He's a bit squishy, which is not great into nuke-heavy lineups, especially lineups with Zeus or Nyx Assassin. TA, I was going to say, would be a great pick into Zeus. Obviously, the TA mid is going to make Zeus's job much more difficult because he doesn't have any damage over time to knock down the refraction charges. OD will probably be your farming carry for U of M now, which means that Ty and Zingle very well might actually switch lanes. Ty usually being their farming carry may actually go mid because I do know Zingle loves Outworld Devour.
Okay. So, should be interesting to see how they do here, which is always something that I think works well here at this level in an important game, is honestly if you can switch up sort of where you're playing, where players are sitting, it throws the other team off, right? If UConn goes in and they expect Zingle to be in one spot and he's playing somewhere else, that can mess with your opponent's head just a little bit, which honestly, when you're talking about a best of 3 that determines whether or not you get to travel to a LAN final, even a 1-game advantage where you get them off kilter is really valuable.
Yeah, I don't know what level of research these guys are doing on. So they all seem to know each other relatively well. They're probably, maybe, possibly scrimming, but it's a CSL. So some teams don't practice at all, and some teams practice a lot. Maybe that's an advantage for U of M. Maybe it's not. I think it's just the nature of the pick. You don't want to put the OD in mid against Zeus if you're comfortable laning a TA instead. Just makes a lot more sense to put the TA there. Not that OD does poorly against Zeus, but TA does much better. Not as level dependent. TA also just hard counters the hero because of the damage block that she has that stops nukes. Juggernaut coming out here is an interesting pick that really solidifies Husky for a mid-game strategy, right? Earthshaker is going to be coming into the game around the same time as Silencer and Zeus and Juggernaut and Void. Everybody should be windowing around that 12 to 16 minute mark, and that's when I'd expect them to start to try and take control and push.
Okay, Centaur comes out for U of M. Interesting grab there. I feel like we don't see as much Centaur these days.
Yeah.
I think that he could be good here, and he seems like a hero that when you talk about CSL, not the pro level, but a really high level of play, Centaur does have a lot of value. I think that the speed, the ability to engage quickly, withdraw, and get themselves out of some trouble situations could be really, really good. So let's keep in mind that it's not the most normal pick, but I think it could be a lot of fun. He's also a really frustrating pick if you build that, sort of fast-hitting juggernaut and you're looking at something in the Battle Fury realm instead of going into a straight hard-hitting fighter. The Centaur Warrunner can do a lot of damage with that return, with the return damage that he puts out early on. So,
yeah, I am going to be a little concerned for the Centaur in that there are a lot of answers to that return damage. Zeus obviously doesn't have to right-click. Jug doesn't have to right-click either because he does have the spin. Of course, Earthshaker right-clicks, but he right-clicks with a lot of damage in a single hit instead of a lot of little hits. And Faceless Void probably won't go for a right-click build. Silencer can be right-clicky, but for the beginning portions of the game will be nuking as well. So for that Centaur, survivability may be an issue. He also doesn't have a traditional escape, right? And I will also say that Centaur in this patch specifically does really well at low levels of play. We're talking like 2k MMR-ish, but he does well below average at higher levels of play where he basically doesn't get picked up at all. He's got less than a 2% win rate if you're over 5k MMR, which a lot of these players are. His or pick rate, and his win rate is less than 49%. So certainly an interesting hero. It does pair up well with the OD. It sets up for the stomp, as well as makes it so that OD doesn't have to get as many mobility items in order to engage. It pairs well with the Vengeful Spirit as well, with the potential swap combo. The speed in combination with the Psionic Trap can be nice, but it is definitely a niche pick. We'll see how it works out.
So let's do some quick introductions, boys and girls. It's UConn versus Michigan in this last round of 8 to determine who joins the rest of the crew. And that's going to be, I believe, Cornell, UBC, and Cal Poly at the final at DreamHack. So for the lineup for University of Michigan, coming out of the gate, it's going to be Zingle on the OD. We're going to have Dandy playing the Centaur War Runner. We're going to have TA played by T1E. The Lich will be played by Pave. And last but not least, the Venge will be handled by AA himself. And I'm going to hold off on the introduction to Radiant, as it looks like things might get a little bit heated here. They go to the high ground. Nice scouting by Belly. He made sure that he was on the high ground, could see them coming up. Smoke is broke, and unfortunately, Michigan's going to waste that rotation.
That was a really weird decision for rotation there coming out of Michigan, just because if you smoke, you always want to avoid going upstairs if possible. For that exact reason, your smoke will break before you can see it engage on your opponent. But more importantly, this particular location has 2 sets of stairs they have to walk up, not just one. It's a weird point to forge the river.
And as any fat guy can tell you, no stairs is better than 2 sets of stairs. So let's do a quick introduction for the Radiant side as we get this party started.
Here on Yukon for the Radiant side, we've got Bellicoso narrowly dodging that early first blood on the Faceless Void. Viv is going to be stomping around on the Earthshaker. Heartbreaking is taking Juggernaut for a spin. Village Fish is telling you to shut up on the silencer, and PQH is playing electric on the Zeus.
All right, those are the lineups as they break down. Last hit tonight chart up for you guys. This is the C Star League. Let's have some fun. In the middle matchup is going to be PQH versus T1E, and PQH not going to love that matchup. The real value, I think, of Zeus is that he's got that potential to just push back the other laner with his spam, and T1E is going to be able to negate that a little bit with the refraction. So should be a very interesting lane to keep our eyes on. Meanwhile, it's a 3-on-3 aggressive tri-lane coming out of Yukon. AA feels the wrath of the harass, but Pave is here. The king of annoying lanes is going to put some damage on Village Fish. Bellicoso's got to back away. Now, when we talk about annoying supports to deal with in lane, I would say that Silencer and Lich are right on top of that list. Who is more annoying, do you think, for this lineups?
You know, I'm going to twist the question a little bit and look at the tri-lanes as a whole rather than the supports in them. I don't particularly love Yukon's aggressive decision here because I don't see what the Faceless Void adds to it, other than a handful of right clicks.
Village Fish took
even there, he was in on the Lich for a solid 4 seconds or so with an Earthshaker stun, and he wasn't even able to get the Lich below 200 health.
Yeah.
He's just not contributing that much, and since most Faceless Voids don't max time lock anymore because they build for utility, he's not even going to have that magical damage increase. And we're actually potentially going to see him give up the first blood. He could turn around onto the Venge.
Venge looks like he may clear out. Village Fish going to try to get in range, but he went into Glaives instead of one of his debuffs, so that will give AA time to back off and regen. Pave comes forward, wants to harass Village Fish now, and he's going to have to turn and walk away as V is running the clarity to get back into this. This is a very back and forth lane, a lot of low health, but neither team really with finishing power at this point in time.
Yeah, I will say, although I don't necessarily see what the Void is after this, I would love to see the Juggernaut up here and then the Void in the bottom. Forcing the Lich to tri-lane here with the OD into a tri-lane really hurts OD because he is very level dependent, and ideally that Lich would be roaming. Well, right, and leave the OD to basically get solo experience up here. If it were just OD versus Void, he could get away with that.
In a perfect world. Now, when we talk about PQH and T1E down here in the middle lane, what are you looking for to cut? What are you looking for coming out of this middle lane? What does each side need to get from it?
Zeus needs to get rotations to help maintain the lane, or he's probably not going to be able to. For TA, if she trades even in this lane, she's lost it, basically. She should be expected to come out ahead in this matchup. And in a perfect world, she would also fall out of this lane with a healthy 2 or 3 stack of Ancients. But because of this tri-lane coming out of Yukon, it's not looking very likely that any supports are going to be able to get out and help, which once again is actually working out pretty well to Yukon's favor, even though traditionally the burden of success is on the aggressive tri-lane. I think in this particular case, the burden of success is on University of Michigan, just because of all the extraneous factors.
We often talk about that, how if you're not getting the kills on the tri-lane or the aggressive tri-lane, it's just not worth it. But you bring up a really good point. Zingle has been sort of pushed backwards here. AA and Lich are forced to be on standby. This is going very, very well for them right now. Bellicoso again comes forward. If you look at the last hit charts, you can see that the TA's doing well. Let's see who else. Juggernaut, not too shabby either. Seems like Jug's having a pretty comfortable lane down here by himself.
Yeah, he should be able to take that lane without any issue. I mean, Centaur is a nasty hero to one-on-one against, but there's always the potential for a Blade Fury if Centaur moves too close, right? And although there is no healing ward leveled yet, there will if it becomes an issue, so Jug should be absolutely fine. The only problem for Juggernaut, really, is that he's not going to be able to maintain his lane equilibrium as well as he's otherwise like to, because he doesn't have a support pulling for him ever.
Right.
And he doesn't have a ranged support able to deny from a safe distance either. So barring either of those activities, the Centaur is going to get more experience in gold than he normally.
Zingle took a big risk for those brown boots. Going to take a lot of damage for his trouble. Drop down to about half after that. But sometimes you just need those boots. He's going to try to come back out here and get the last hits. Only 16-1 right now. So he is dead even with his opponent on the theoretical offlane, the Faceless Void. Down on the bottom, though, Centaur 26-3, 30-3. So both of those lanes dead heated. I guess the big moral of the story here is that Zeus is just getting boxed out of this lane incredibly hard.
Yeah, that's just, it's what will naturally happen to Zeus versus TA. TA is probably the hardest single lane counter to Zeus in the entire game. Juggernaut is running the table, but TA out of the mid lane is coming very close again. Zingle will be our first blood up here.
Well,
whoa!
There's the jump.
He should still be. He should still be.
Bellicoso going to have to take a lot of damage to secure it. There comes the first blood. Ulti from the Zeus. Bellicoso low. They are going to finish that off, so it goes 1 for 1. But Zeus dies in the mid, and Silencer goes down on top. Wow, Pave super
Honestly,
low.
there was no need for that Void to hang out for that. Try to get that last hit. Silencer was outside of the tower range, and he has Glaives. He should have been able to clean that up without the Void getting in quite so deep and staying there. That was a really dangerous call, and I get that he wanted the experience and he wanted the last hit for the gold, but the greed costs him here.
Yeah. So essentially what we saw is the first blood does go the way of UConn, but it costs them 3 for the price of that 1. So definitely something Michigan, I guess, in that situation, not too bad giving up the first blood if you can get 3 in return.
Yeah, I absolutely. You don't want to give your OD up in it, but it's not the end of the world. And they got not only 2 in the top lane, but also the mid just being secured that much more by T1E, who is
2 levels up right now.
Bank here. He's going to dive again, and without any TPs, I could very realistically see him.
There's the TP. T1E sees it coming out, immediately backs away. It's Village Fish. They don't really have enough to stop her, so she will be able to just walk away from this one. Bellicoso left out alone on top for the first time in a while. Down on bottom, Juggernaut continues to just try to farm as fast as he can. But if we look at the net worth stack chart right now, you're going to see the real issue here. And we talked about this. The other lanes split relatively even. The big problem is that TA is at 3.4K and going to be snowballing very, very fast.
Well,
there's a nice Meld Strike, moves on PQH, wants to finish the job. Down he goes. Couldn't even get the ultimate off before he went down. VVV TP's in, but now he's got to be careful because T1E is looking for blood.
Yeah, I don't think T1E can dive there because the creep equilibrium is fading away and it will strip his refraction off just instantly. But these forced rotations coming from T1E have opened up the pressure on the top lane, right? That's exactly what the strategy was calling for, just the patience to let T1E dominate his lane. The bottom lane went more in Centaur's favor than it would have if Centaur was in 1v2 or 1v3. So that is already a net gain from the opportunity cost. Mid lane heavily going into the favor of the Templar Assassin.
So Centaur does get killed on bottom. Juggernaut makes the dive. Zeus pops the ultimate to make it happen. And it looks like U of M decides to head towards the top lane. They went for that gank rotation mid, didn't get anything out of it, and headed right back up. So nice kill. Zeus able to contribute to that one, but it does still leave a bit of a deficit at this point for UConn. They pull it back slightly, but U of M in control by about 1,500 gold at this stage of the game.
PQH, yeah, OD is way behind where he needs.
Yeah,
and that's super important. This is not a hero with a lot of catch-up potential, right? Unlike if, say, TA were behind or Juggernaut were behind, there is no OD goes to the jungle, knocks down a couple stacks that supports fit up for him, and then he is balling again, right? He is 2 level dependent for that. He's got no AoE abilities that are effective at farming out jungle camps. So in order for him to catch up, he basically needs his 4 teammates to create enough space for him to solo farm while his opponents are not. or they just need a bunch of really fantastic engagements for the OD to catch back up on kills. Either of those are going to be difficult for this OD to come back in.
Is it possible that this TA, who's gotten out in front, can make enough space to get the OD back into it, or how do you get back in if you're in singles position?
You know, I'm not sure that the TA alone can make that much space. Maybe it's possible, I guess. The team as a whole could potentially create the opportunity for Zingle to catch back up, but really, I think it's less about lifting Zingle's head out of the water and more about pushing Yukon's head under it.
I got you.
That's how they get ahead in this game, I think, is not letting anybody from Yukon get too far away from where Zingle is. And the Jug is threatening to hit that mark.
I was going to say,
So
and the Juggernaut's fast becoming an issue. He's got 13 in the bank. He's got the Poor Man's Shield finished up, phase boots. He's got a Quelling Blade, which implies a Battle Fury that lets him get to that late game as fast as he wants to. Let's see, he's going to buy. Yep, so it is going to be a Battle Fury, it looks like. And he's at net worth even with TA, who dominated her lane. So really tough situation. Dandy not even, well, I guess I should say not even close. He's gaining on the Blink Dagger. What's that going to do to the game once he gets that up and running?
It will help create the space that we've been talking about with Stampede and Blink available. That will make engagements more realistic, because right now they don't have any good initiator. They have a lot of counter initiation, so they don't have to feel immensely threatened. There's going to be the Stampede.
There's the charge in the middle. PQH dropping low. T1E putting in some work. Fish trying to rescue. Not going to happen. Down he goes. A nice kill. Good communication from the double damage rune and the ultimate popped. Wants to turn back around. A little dangerous here. Chronosphere is not available though, so that's why he considered it. He knew it was level 5. Thought maybe I can get a shot in, and then backs away.
T1E is almost level 11 already.
I know, right?
3 members of his opponent's team do not have ults yet. And he's almost level 11.
Dandy. Heartbreaking is really taking it. Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I'm not... Okay.
Jug, with that kill, hits the top of the net worth.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's going to grab a tower as well. Like I said, University of Michigan really need to rotate down here and do something about this Jug, or they need to punish his inability to be everywhere at once. So if they are not just demolishing out these other lanes, which is really difficult, of how far behind this OD is, they need to be applying some pressure down here. Honestly, the Templar Assassin could go down into that lane and probably outlane the Jug.
Yeah.
At this point, she is only 100 gold away, and she's about to knock down a triple stack. So she basically does have Desolator up.
I feel like Danny's a little off his game tonight. I think that some of his positioning, that last kill was very preventable. I don't know if you saw the Centaur War Stomp that missed and allowed the Juggernaut to get his ultimate off. It was just an unfortunate positioning thing. Dandy feels like maybe he just needs a minute to get his game back under his feet. He died right on top of the Blink Dagger. Look at that. He's got 1,900 gold to his name, so that kill for the Juggernaut could not have come at a better time. What do players... I mean, at this point, is it important for him to just sort of maybe go somewhere else for a little while, get his head back in the right place, and then come to the fights? Or how do you deal with that?
I'm talking for Dandy?
Yeah.
I think he just has to keep on keeping on. He's only died twice.
That's...
It's not like... yeah, he is 2/3 of his team's deaths, but 2 deaths in the off lane does not a loss make, right? As long as he can stay calm, he's fine. Now, and he should be calling for help against this Jug. In fact, we see some spam pinging coming out from the Zeus, it looks like, down
Looks
here.
like T1E is going to go and sneak a Roche here.
Yeah, as soon as he gets to Desolator, this is doable. Little difficult. A bit of help from the bench with that negative armor should push it over the edge.
So, got the negative armor, going to go in there, full bottle on standby. Everyone else acting like it's business as usual. A will even leave her and go back to the mid lane to sort of show and say, yeah, there's nothing sneaky going on right now.
Well, plus, he's not going to do anything to help at this point anyway, so he might as well get 2 waves of experience for free. Get up that swap and be ready to engage onto these towers. Just to force out some openings for Outworld Devourer, who is almost finished with his drums. So... OD almost up to his first item. At 1330, that's way behind the mark for this hero, but considering how well
Here comes the dive, looking for the swap. AA does not have it up yet, so we're going to go looking for Fish. Fish jumps into the trees.
Oh!
TP's right before Danny can get there. They reveal the Blink Dagger and don't get anything for it, as well as the ultimate from that Centaur Warrunner. So unfortunate upside, T1E gets to farm some delicious Ancients. Pave does get caught in the Chronosphere. Zingle on the wrong side of the wall. Can he get out of this one? Astral Imprisonment to buy space, but everyone is here. So they're going to get a double. They lose their Ancients, but they'll be totally happy with losing the Ancients for that double right there. It was really nicely done. And sets OD back even farther. So T1E needs to get out of there before the rotations come in. Looks like he wants to potentially push forward. Top lane will take the tower. So Yukon with a really nice comes away with a lot out of that exchange.
Yeah, Earthshaker shot up 400 gold in that exchange, which is awesome for them. Having a support Earthshaker that's closing in on a Blink Dagger, probably on par to get that at about 18 minutes, is really nice. Juggernaut getting Battle Fury at 1450.
That's good. It's not bad.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good considering
he had no support.
Yeah, I would say his equilibrium was not really in his favor.
Right.
Not too shabby. He's going to go in and farm.
I mean, he is top of the net worth, and TA has taken 2 big Ancient stacks, plus had stacks in the jungle from supports. So when you put it in that context, also solo kills galore in the mid lane. She's sitting on a killing spree already.
It's gotta be a little bit scary for University of Michigan once they know that Juggernaut's about to come online with the Battle Fury. They haven't seen it yet, but they will shortly. I mean, that Battle Fury means that you have to get into the jungle and you have to shut the Juggernaut down, or he just becomes too big of an issue to deal with. Does University of Michigan have the ability to get in there and stop Heartbreaking from farming?
I think that their goal is to force him to stop farming by requiring him to engage elsewhere, right? Not giving him an opportunity to farm by collapsing onto lanes. It's a heads-up strategy. It's sort of like forcing him to play Whack-A-Mole instead of playing Harvest Moon, right? He doesn't seem to care, though, to be honest. They're going to give up this top tower without any sort of defense. He's a free lane in the meantime. The mid-game win they do particularly well for Yukon, so I'm not 100% sure that pushing to the late game faster by encouraging trades is ideal, but he did get a tier 2 for a tier 1 there.
Yeah, so it's a great trade for him. He got to farm the whole lane. Meanwhile, Yukon is going to lean on the middle tower. Oh, why they grouped up middle? I'm not really sure why. Are they smoking? Nope.
They've been grouped up middle for a while.
Interesting.
Just waiting.
All right, so tier 2 now under effect by Michigan. They're going to come forward. They think about going. Bellicoso does have the chrono. He catches 2 inside of it. There's going to be the ultimate from the Centaur. T1E in a little bit of trouble. He's going to try to make up space, drop backwards, put in some damage while he can, but he will go down. He has the Aegis of the Immortal, though. The question is, can he get to safety? Dandy comes forward. Blink stuns up on Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking, though, turns it back around. Nice stun on Dandy, and they will lose the Centaur Warrunner. T1E on the run. Everyone else very low. Lich dies to the slow burn from the Silencer. AA, low Silencer, wants to get in range to use it. Can he get there? He does. AA in danger zone. He's going to go for the TP to health and will be able to get out of there.
T1E is just not enough right now for this team. The OD fell way too far behind. The supports that U of M have are not particularly well equipped right now to make up the slack, the lack of damage. Vengeful Spirit and Lich are both supports that kind of exacerbate the amount of damage that their teammates do, right? They increase damage that teammates do by increasing their survivability, increasing their duration in a fight, and obviously with the orb, but they themselves don't contribute that much direct damage. I mean, barring a good chain frost.
Let's call a spade a spade. They went into that fight and pushed that tower because they had the Aegis on T1E, and they got nothing out of it. In fact, they lost ground at Yukon by about 2,000 gold because T1E ultimately went down with that killing spree.
Ooh, and they're going to lose T1E here.
Ooh, nice swap to buy space.
He's still very low.
Centaur bringing in the pound, wants to go. Heartbreaking, dropping low. It's a lot of gold if they kill him. They do. Nicely done. So they put T1E forward as bait, and with a good swap stampede, get her to safety and get a kill on the Juggernaut, a very important kill after that last exchange. So still anybody's game. The gold lead is only at about 1,500 to the favor of Yukon. XP is still in the favor of University of Michigan. But like you said, a lot comes down to getting OD back online. T1E heads to the bottom lane with the Desolator, wants to push this tower. and should be able to get it down as there are no TPs coming out. VVV is making the slow run to bottom. That won't be fast enough to stop. Well, Bellicoso is coming out, and it will stop. I'm sorry. T1E backs off, has to play the safe game. Bellicoso gets a deny.
Yeah, he didn't know who else was coming up from the jungle. They don't have particularly
OD.
good
Zingle would have
vision
killed
aggressive
for
play.
that gold.
Yeah. Well, he does have enough for his blink right now. This is a build that requires a little more game sense and a little more control to make work, as opposed to something like a Force Staff or a Rod of Atos that gives you intelligence. This is very much I know how to play this hero, I know how to engage and maximize my returns from Arcane Orb, and therefore I don't need the built-in intelligence from items. I can just go straight into mobility. The drums will help mitigate that a bit as well. OD should be basically prepared to engage now. When you go for a Blink Dagger build, basically what you're saying is this is the only item that I need to make an impact at this stage in the game.
Okay. So hopefully that makes a difference, as University of Michigan definitely feels the momentum on UConn's side. UConn going to gather up in the middle, looking for that last Tier 1 tower. Comes to the high ground. They've got the Chronosphere up on Bellicoso as well as the Blink Dagger. So look for that big initiation. Battle Fury and Yasha finished up on Heartbreaking, as he is getting to be a very difficult problem. Tower will go down. Glyph is going to get used, but not going to last long enough to stop them. Just slow them, as the guys from University of Michigan figure out where to go at this point. Zingle keeps pushing on the top lane, and it looks like UConn wants to force out a defense TP as they head into the middle.
Yeah, meanwhile, Zingle is getting some free farm here in the top lane, really being left alone. That is creating a lot of catch-up. He's getting 900 gold. Maybe. I don't think the goal was to sack the tier 2, and they may still defend. In fact, it looks like they are going to defend.
Here's the bounce. In comes Dandy. Goes for the stun with the blink. Dodge is there. A Zeus ultimate comes out. Heartbreaking goes down. That's a big kill for them. Zingle on the chase. Wants to go for Village Fish. T1E comes forward. Chronosphere to finish Zingle, who just showed up. The miss is real, but not enough. We lose the Zeus. Lost the Lich. Village Fish on the run. He will fall. And University of Michigan pulls out 3. Ping and VVB able to blink to safety the last possible second. And the 2 remaining heroes from UConn will get away. They lost the OD, but like you said, OD finished the Blink Dagger, so he's not as angry about that death, and they were able to take down the Juggernaut, who's been a huge issue. T1E actually rises up by over 1,000 gold now over the Juggernaut, and University of Michigan has the net worth lead for the first time in this game since about 11 minutes in.
Yeah, OD is also a solid 600 higher than the Void, as opposed to 3 minutes ago where they were neck and neck. So, which is important just because the OD needs more to actually make an impact, right? So the fact that the OD is sitting at about 10% more farm than the Void, it is maybe a bit deceptive to say that because it implies that the OD is way farther ahead, but the Void can do a lot more with a lot less.
I do want to say, guys, I apologize for the coughing and stuff. I am very sick, and it is difficult to run the camera, click things, and mute the mic at the same time. So, I am
Copies,
sorry.
did you get one of them computer viruses?
Sniggity snap. Oh, shit's getting real. Juggernaut wants to go after AA, gets stunned in the face. Danny gonna get stuck, has to back away. Zeus gonna pop the ulti to get a little bit of zoning, and UConn comes away with 1 kill, maybe make it 2 as Danny runs past the regen rune. It's a trap for T1E. He's gonna come in, wants Bellicoso. Bellicoso doesn't have a chrono. Danny's gonna hide out. Bellicoso will go down. The trap is real. Danny wants to follow. He's trying to play it very safe here. Village Fish gonna die to T1E. Yup, nice blink to the high ground right afterward. VVV is about to BBB dead as a doornail if T1E can finish this job. Danny on the chase. OD now as well, and they're going to pick up 3. PQH making the long circle. Do they have a stun? Yes, they do! That is 4 for the price of none. The bait is real. T1E with the beautiful blink meld strike opens up one hell of a turnaround for UConn. I'm sorry, for University of Michigan.
For U of M. Yeah, the U of M just blew this game wide open.
Yeah.
We did just say, yeah, the once the Blink Dagger goes out on OD, he looks like he believes that he's ready to fight.
Mm-hmm.
He has shown that this is all he needs, right? He's been effective the last 2 fights to enough of a degree to create the sort of chaos and bedlam that T1E is going to thrive on.
And T1E
and so much of the net worth
yeah.
is on T1E and so much of the damage for the team. is on T1E. Basically, it's all about creating an opportunity for him to get kills at this point.
Absolutely. T1E dangerously close to earning a respect ban on the TA in the next match, as he is 14.3. When you're 3,000 gold above a Battle Fury farming juggernaut, I think that speaks volumes. And I don't know if you noticed what the guys from Michigan just did is they went through the jungle after that fight and left one creep in each of those camps. So really something that is heartbreaking for the juggernaut when he goes in there and tries to pick up a little extra gold.
Yeah, there's they're gonna smoke up, so maybe I should come back.
So let's wait. We see some smoke crossing the water. Bellicoso's going to lead the charge. He's got the Chronosphere, wants a kill. It looks like they want to go for Zingle. Zingle starting to smell it out, not going to get out. Nice Chronosphere from Bellicoso, about as well placed as it could be. They come away with what? Now, they did burn the Chrono. They got a kill on a hero whose farm is good, but isn't the greatest.
I mean, second highest net worth on the team. The only better target would have been
That's fair.
Right. I mean, OD is behind where we would like him
Right.
to be and behind where he in theory should be, but he's by no means worthless. You know what I mean? He is a very good target to kill. And in fact, because he is behind, but also has a relatively high net worth, he's probably the ideal target to go for. He's easier to kill than an OD normally would be. He's more vulnerable. He's also feeling more pressure to be forward and out of position to get more farm. So he's going to be easier to grab that as well. And you're still going to get quite a bit of AoE gold off of him because of his net worth.
All right, so Roche is going to go down. The guys tried to convert that kill into a top tower push. Were unable to do so as the defense did come out from AA and Pave. Allows T1E to go ahead and pick up that free Roche, which he's going to be very happy with. It wasn't effective last time. Let's see how much of a difference the Aegis makes this time around.
Yeah, well, last time they were worried about the Juggernaut. They were trying to apply pressure to force the Juggernaut to respond, right? That's what that weird push was in the top with the Aegis. They had the Aegis and they wanted to make sure that they utilized it, but more importantly, they had to stop the Juggernaut from free farming out the jungle on the off lane. The only way to do that was to force the Juggernaut to come and fight, and so that's what they did. They overplayed their hand just a little bit. Now the ball is in their court. They don't have to worry about the Juggernaut farming. They will get more farm from this map.
Ruh-roh, this is the bad news bears situation. Juggernaut caught out, the stun catches 3, but it's not enough. Zeus pops his ultimate. It doesn't do anything but tickle as the guys push forward. That was a worst case scenario engagement for UConn. Juggernaut was desperate to farm. Michigan knew that. They rotated in a way that let them get the pick off there, and it was just brutal. There's no buyback on the Juggernaut. Even if he could, I'm not sure he could afford it at the moment in terms of wasting that gold. And it looks like T1E is going to try to lead his team to the high ground.
Yeah, they're at least going to pressure it to try and force the buyback. They don't know he doesn't have one. They are moving in, and with the Desolator, they can make pretty quick work of this tower as well.
T1E
and they do have the Aegis.
That's
right.
true.
So, I would back up if I were.
I would rotate to bottom right now. I mean,
right, that's the thing. They can make this stand in bottom where they don't have to worry about the choke point into the Earthshaker. They know Earthshaker has Blink Dagger, and they know he has Echo Slam.
Right.
So there's no point to fight into a situation where all of them have to run into a bottleneck.
So the big blue will push forward, start to lean on this tower, going to use that trap to slow down the creeps. T1E will just farm them up as they all get in row like ducks in a line. And this should be a dead bottom tower. I'm not sure you can contest, but they're going to go into smoke. They're saying it's time. They've got the Blink Dagger. They've got the Chrono, but look at this. University of Michigan is playing it uber safe. Everyone hanging back saying, if you Chrono the TA, we are going to get vengeance. And TA will just chip at it away. Gets the tower. Bellicoso desperate to engage. Look at T1E, jumps right past him, pops the BKB, goes on PQH. This fight has split in half. That's a massive Chrono from Bellicoso. Good ulti from the Zeus. That's huge! Echo Slam gets everyone. T1E jumped at the same time as Bellicoso. They passed each other like ships in the night, and because of the AoE combo, and because T1E wasn't there, holding so much net worth and so much damage for the team, he's just able to come away with 4 kills. That is a massive and absolutely necessary swing for UConn at this stage of the game.
Yeah, they were playing that so well, too. Just doing exactly what we just talked about, utilizing the fact that Tier 2 has no natural choke point. Yeah. They were spread out like fingers of a hand, going out for a fly ball, right? And then they all just kind of collapsed as actually T1E just
goes, gets silencer,
pick.
jumps away. Nice, nice cheeky. Bellicoso though on the chase, wants
He's
to go.
got Aegis, so he doesn't care.
Yeah, T1E is just gonna take the fight, gets the kill.
Yeah. I mean, he had to use that Aegis anyway. He was going to
Right.
fire by the next team fight, so this was a perfect play by him.
And the chase is on. He wants Heartbreaking. Gonna go with the Melt Strike. Goes for the TP. Swap to cancel. Boom goes the Dynamite. Down goes the 3 because T1E was pissed about the earlier exchange. And honestly, they lost the bottom exchange, I 100% believe, because it came down to the fact that T1E blinked at the exact same moment that the Void blinked out from behind the trees, and it worked out really well for Yukon. That said, sometimes just because it's only one person up doesn't mean it's time to push the tier 2.
Right. Well, bear in mind, everybody from University right now is playing as an auxiliary hero to support T1E, right?
Yeah.
Zingle is here to help a little bit of damage on the side, and also to make sure that T1E, if he gets caught in a Chronosphere, he has Astral Imprisonment to be saved. You've got supports there, and then you've got an Initiator from the Centaur Warrunner. But every single spell that's being cast is really being cast in order to optimize the damage output and survivability of this one hero coming out of the mid lane, because that mid lane went so well. He's going to dive in pretty deep. He does not have Aegis this time. He's got BKB.
Chronosphere,
went in too deep,
nice
but the
swap, but not far enough. T1E is dropping low. Zeus pops the ultimate. Zingle takes some damage to protect T1E. The mech does some work. Echo Slam comes in, and it only gets the Venge. So Venge with the MVP award on that fight as everyone else runs. Pave gonna have to probably slow down and protect T1E here as Bellicoso comes charging forward. T1E might be able to actually turn. Nope, there's the stun. Pave will get left behind, and it will cost
Pave has his ult in 4 seconds. If he survives long enough, he could actually turn his ult onto these two.
Here, looks like he might do it. Turning around, zuking through the trees. Not in time. 1 second left on the
He
cooldown.
decided to save it. I think he decided to save it for a potential buyback
Yeah.
high ground defense.
So, that said, it is 2 supports go down to make sure that T1E gets out. And as you said, that's sort of the goal of the team right now. T1E at 20.4k. Cannot afford to lose him. Dandy, by the way, does have the Ag Scepter available. We've got, wow, the Daedalus as well as the Diffusal Blade finished up on T1E to go along with the Desolator that was so effective early on. Let's take a look at what the Radiant has been able to farm up. Oh, first look at poor OD. Still working on getting that stuff. Looks like a BKB's next on the list for him. Juggernaut has not had any equipment mobility since the last time we checked in on him, probably a good 5 or 10 minutes ago. Still the Manta and the Battle Fury. Is that a large reason they're having so much trouble getting back into this match?
Well, they're having trouble getting back into this match because of the amount of pressure that U of M are able to apply. It's not that the Jug is unable to get farm, it's that he's unable to actually do anything that University of Michigan aren't inviting him to do.
Right.
There's no downtime at all. University of Michigan, I would say, they obviously have really skilled players. They have a good drafter. They have T1E is an amazing player. Zingle's not a bad player in his own right. Nobody on this team is a weak link necessarily. But I would say when we watch them, the best standout quality that they have is that they understand and control the pace of games so well, which has led them to be undefeated throughout the season.
All right, so smoke is going to get used. Looks like they come forward. T1E wants to farm his opponent's jungle. Bellicoso saw it coming, jumps in, but the charge is out. They need to save T1E. They're going to do everything they can. Juggernaut from the backside, putting in some work. Bellicoso dropping low. Heartbreaking on the run. Lich ulti going to chase Heartbreaking. Not going to do much, but walks away. Bellicoso, though, will not go down. Jumps to safety in the trees. Blanks even farther, and after that disengagement, no one ends up dead. I take that back. Orange is probably going to end up dead.
Yeah,
So
he will be the sacrificial lamb.
Zeus goes down.
Oh no!
What happened?
T1E turns away, expecting to get the kill. Void walks out with like 8 health, time walks, and gets it back. TA physically turned her body, expecting that kill to go through.
Nicely done, manages to survive. Bellicoso gets out. Problem is, Chronosphere is down for 70. Yes, Lich Ultimate's down too, but the Chronosphere is one of the few things that's making them genuinely scared to push this high ground. The Echo Slam is still up.
Survived with 11 health on that Melt Strike. 11 health was the difference between life or death there. Now,
did he have Solar Crest
that's
up?
not... Yeah, he did. Yeah. I will say that that's probably not the biggest deal in the world, honestly, because that amount of gold is kind of a drop in the bucket to T1E at this point. And as you just mentioned, there's no Chronosphere up, so Void doesn't really contribute very much in these fights. But you know, he didn't die, which
Right.
is always better than dying.
That, guys, boys and girls, is a moment of wisdom from Gorgon the Wonder Cow. Wisdom that you can live your real life on too. It's always better when you don't die. T1E gonna come forward, start to chip at that tower just a little bit more. I feel like the TA Desolator chip has become a bit of a staple for the round of 8 for us here in CSL, as we got to see a lot of it last week as well. T1E going to keep pushing forward. Everyone else on defense detail. They have to keep range. They're worried about that Echo Slam. They're worried about when that Chronosphere comes back off in 40 seconds or so. How do you do this? Do you just keep chipping? Is that the safest, the only way to really do it?
They can try to die, but every time they do, T1E dives a little too far. So I think
gotcha.
this tower is very low. It's only going to take 3 more hits. 2,
There it
3,
is.
750 pop. They've got it.
Blinks
Now
away.
they have a lot more opportunity, right? They still have to worry about the Earthshaker ulti on those choke points. But now what they can do is they can throw the TA down into the bottom and have the OD kind of chip away in the mid and force Yukon to make some hard decisions. They also are getting pretty close to the next Roshan. So I suspect that they're going to wait until that comes up and then start to do the base engage.
It looks like Yukon has the same thought. They're going to smoke and head straight towards that bottom, towards that Roche. I don't think they smoked inside of Vision, but they might have. Now that I look at where they popped that smoke. They're going to head down there. It looks like University of Michigan's not going to take any risks. They're going to fall back, regroup, and wait for the smoke to end. And Yukon on the hunt. 30 seconds or so left on the Roche. They'll check it out, but comes to naught. And that's a shame. I think that Yukon really needed to have something come out of this smoke, and University of Michigan knew that, and they dodged very, very well. Gold lead at 8,000, XP at 12,000. University of Michigan, who for a bit there I thought might be in some trouble in this match, has been on a one-way streak to winning since that 18th minute, and it seems to continue just getting longer.
Like I said, I mean, this is a team that is really good at controlling the pace. Also, I said it in the draft. I said it in the laning phase. I stand by it. U of M does go into the late game with more reliability than UConn. I didn't use those exact words, but
Right.
that's basically right. The mid game was UConn's strong point, and they did really well up until about the 17-minute mark, and then they started to fall off because T1E was allowed to get too far out of control. It all comes down to these laning choices, right?
Yep.
Zingle was sacrificed as a farmer to open up so that there's no rotations onto the mid lane. No rotations on the mid lane means that T1E is given complete free reign. That absolutely kneecapped Outworld Devourer, the Vengeful Sphere, and the Lich in terms of levels and influence throughout the early portions of the game. Lich was the lowest level hero through part of this game, but all of that sacrifice allowed T1E to have an uncontested basic laning phase against a hero that he should be able to knock down with without any thought at all, right?
Absolutely.
So everything kind of came into confluence. The laning decisions did hurt really bad for some Juventus players, but it did not hurt for the team, and that's what's really important.
I think it's also abundantly important to point out that while Centaur had a tough start, getting that Ag Scepter up has been a huge boon to the team. We saw that point where T1E almost got picked off, caught in the chrono away from his team, but Danny was able to pop his ultimate and give that 60% damage reduction, plus the time it takes to get through Refraction. They just couldn't burn him down, and we saw that turnaround really work out in their favor. So the Scepter has earned its gold worth so far, and I look forward to seeing it do more as they try to push towards these high grounds. T1E going to go ahead and just chip from the low. Stun's going to come out, but all it's going to do is say, hey, we're here. I mean, how do you stop University of Michigan right now?
Good Echo Slam.
Yeah,
It's going to
that's
come
true.
down to the Juggernaut. I mean, they do have the Silencer as well, but there's 2 BKBs now. Oh, both OD and TA are able to dispel that global silence, so it doesn't even really make that big of an impact.
Right.
The Lich ult is nice, but Lich ult does not swing these fights usually. Honestly, I'm not sure if I've seen a consequential Lich ult so far.
I will argue this. I have not seen a consequential damage output Lich ult, but I have seen a couple of fights where a Juggernaut has had to blink away from the team fight or remove himself for a second to sort of dispel the Lich ultimate, and I think that that's bought so much time for University of Michigan to really make use of it.
I guess I did not necessarily mean to say Pave has been ulting poorly. I guess what I've been meaning to say is the strategy and composition just doesn't require a Lich ult to actually be there, usually.
It just requires you kind of think about it, yeah.
Right. It stops the Vengeful Spirit from saving somebody out of the Chronosphere, That's pretty much all that silence does. Right, the Stampede's usually used to initiate, so it's already down often by the time the silence is out. There's not a lot else going on that silence is going to prevent.
God, look how much damage he's doing. So here they come. We're going to see the
There's
Chrono
the
go out. Silence is there, so they can't run the Stampede, but T1E gets the BKB out, takes almost no damage. In comes the Juggernaut, stunned by a nice play by Dandy, and they just burn him down. He's going to have to burn a buyback, comes back immediately. Zingle wants to go in, dropping low. PQH, there's the ultimate. Village Fish, going to get 3-shotted. Buddy gets to the back. Pave ending up going down. PQH left behind. They take out the range rack. They stay objective-based. Echo Slam catches 4. T1 Elo, nice swap to buy some space, and now they have to retreat. The stun will be there, and Dandy will very likely go down off of that. He's left behind. They lose 2. Zingle and T1E got to play very safe right now. Zeus ultimate, though, off of cooldown, thankfully for them. They get the range racks out of that.
Yeah.
And they forced the buyback from the Juggernaut.
They forced 2 buybacks there, and
That's
they
true.
also forced the buyback from the Zeus, and they did not use the Aegis. So all things said and done, I think U of M can walk away fairly happy on that fight. Like, it did not necessarily hurt them. Ideally, they would have rather have traded the Aegis there and gotten a dieback. Right, because now the Aegis is basically without any use. By the time they get back in and engage, it will probably have expired or be close enough to expiring to be too dangerous to rely on it.
Right.
But it's not a perfect world. U of M can be happy walking away with what they got there.
Excuse me. Gold lead at 14, XP at about the same. University Michigan in control of this game, but as we've learned in the CSL, it's anyone's game to lose at any time. Skullbasher is finished up on the Juggernaut, so he'll be using that going forward here. What other items have we seen come out? Earthshaker picks up a plate mail. That's about it. I mean, that Radiant's having a really hard time getting items up and maintaining gold progression. And U of M just keeps stacking on more and more.
Yeah, it's... UConn can still win this, mostly based on good Earthshaker ults. They could potentially win this, but it's a pretty long shot.
Ty actually dodges the stun. Out comes Bellicoso. Silence to follow. T1E drops low. They're going to kill him before anyone has a chance to respond. Big ultimate coming out of Pave. Astral Imprisonment buys some space. The bounce is still there. And Zingle will jump, trying to get to safety, but he's not going to make it out. He goes down. Danny comes back with the stun. The Aegis will pop. Danny putting in some work. Here comes the return of Zingle. Wants to move forward, hitting VVV. Pops the BKB to dodge the stun. Breaking going to have to back up. They've still lost T1E, which takes away a lot of their damage, but Village Fish low. Nice blink stun by Dandy with the stomp. Turns back around. Astral Imprisonment puts PKUH in dire straits. He will use the Ghost Scepter, but that will only buy him precious seconds. Big Echo Slam hits again, but at what cost? VVV too far forward. The Echo Slam kills no one. The glyph is used. Juggernaut, the last remaining hope. He wants to go, but it's a dangerous proposition. Goes for the spin. The right clicks are there. Armor reduction. Gonna miss because of the spin, and they go right back to the objectives. A 4-man stun, but they cannot capitalize on it. Zingle wants the racks, decides it is not worth the risk. Dandy comes forward, trying to bait something out here. It's not going to happen. They keep pushing the high ground. T1E up in 21 seconds. Heartbreaker blinks to spin. In comes Bellicoso, has to jump back out. Chronosphere, not off a cooldown yet. And all they can do is try to slow the inevitable. Melee Rex drops, and immediately Michigan will withdraw. Juggernaut.
Look at the discipline from this Michigan squad, dude. They have a Juggernaut on a golden platter there, just asking to be engaged. Stay on the racks, they immediately back up. They don't overstep. And even though T1E died right at the open of that fight, thanks again to the nice combination of the silence and Chronosphere, which is the only way to use that silence effectively, is get people in the Chronosphere, silence so the bench can't save. That's the only way that
can't save, and Centaur can't damage reduce, and that's what it comes down to. But the problem with that is it means that you have to blow everything that you need up front to kill T1E, which, as we saw, lets University of Michigan have another 40 seconds to just sort of exert their will.
Right, and they are going to smoke up and just immediately go down to this bottom lane.
Or
hoping somebody will come out to farm. I don't know. Will they be able to catch somebody here in the mid lane? Nobody should be out this far mid. So yeah, I don't think they're going to find anyone.
They got vision, though, on the Juggernaut. No. They've got the high ground vision. Juggernaut's
alone.
And they call Blink Astral. The whole team's on standby. Oh, spin to win, run like hell. Will it matter? No, it. Whoa! Chronosphere comes in for the rescue. Heartbreaker does the jump around, putting some damage on Danny and Zingle. BKB is pop. Heartbreaking comes back out. He will ultimately fall. Zingle on the chase. They want PQH. He's not. No chance of survival as the National Imprisonment comes out. They've lost 3. Will it be too much as University of Michigan enters the high ground and the GG comes out from UConn? They want to keep their mind in a state to win. They push on towards game 2, and University of Michigan is one step closer to finishing their dream on the road to DreamHack. My name is Tops. You can find me at Toffees TV. I'm joined by Gorgon the Wonder Cow. You can find him at the Wonder Cow. You can find all of us at C Star League. Big shout out to Asus and Twitch for making this tournament possible. Could not do it without them, guys. You're watching the CSL round of 8 between University of Connecticut and University of Michigan. Don't go anywhere as we'll be back with more Game 2 action in just a few. But as always, Toffees out.